So what are some of the key systems and processes that you scale your business without burnout? So what are the ones that helped you? Which systems do you believe that they overlook but move the needle? One of the ones that you just mentioned is, when did you first realize that systems and not just the hustle were the key to growing sustainably? My question is, how can brokerages shift their focus from recruiting new agents to actually retaining the ones that they have? What are some practical ways brokers can support their agents? What final piece of advice would you give to agents trying to make the leap from overwhelm to in control? So welcome back to the $1 Million Agent Blueprint, the show where we dig deep into the strategies, systems, and stories behind top producing real estate professionals. Today's guest is somebody that I also consider a friend. She is someone who truly embodies what it means to build a scalable, value-driven business in real estate. Jessica Souza, she's the broker owner, one of the awesome broker owners of Paradise Exclusive Real Estate in sunny Southwest Florida. And so listen, after relocating from Massachusetts in 2016, I know from talking with her personal, things really took a different direction, if that's fair. She can talk about that, but she quickly made her mark by growing a boutique brokerage that thrives not just on sales, but on systems, leadership, and culture. It's great when I see her with her team. So she's the author of the Agent Playbook. She's a speaker and sought-after voice in the industry, contributing regularly to topics on agent retention and brokerage growth. So in today's episode, we're diving into 3 big topics every serious agent and team leader needs to hear: building systems that scale without burnout, why retention beats recruitment in today's market, and what new agents really need to succeed, the stuff that no licensing course is teaching. So if you're ready to level up your business with smarter systems and more intentional growth, this conversation with Jessica is going to hit home. So let's get into it. So Jessica, I'm excited to unpack these themes that bring you to the industry, especially about creating longevity and leadership. I want you to take a few minutes and introduce yourself to our community today.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me. I don't know that I have much more to add beyond, that awesome intro, other than I'm a proud military spouse. So I've kind of gotten to live a little bit all over, and I think pick up some pockets along the way, which has really kind of shaped me into the leader that I am today. And so very appreciative of that experience. But yeah, like you mentioned, when I moved to Florida, I was in a position of higher ed. I was a recruiter and realized, maybe working for somebody else isn't really what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so quick pivot, got into real estate and quickly found myself, getting deeply rooted within our community and building a business that, really proud of.
Perfect. And what area are you specifically, for those listeners that are here, if you're an agent, referrals, I said Southwest Florida, do you want to just throw in right now, what are the areas that you and your brokerage really focus on?
Absolutely. We have 3 office locations. We are in Port Charlotte, Englewood, and Welland Park. So we service really Charlotte, Sarasota, and Lee counties primarily. But we have agents that work, all the way south, Miami, all the way up to Jacksonville. They really just service their clients where needed. But our office locations are definitely all in Southwest Florida.
Wow. I didn't know that you had agents on the East Coast and the whole gamut.
We do. We have agents that have houses in both locations or relocated from Miami to us. And so they continue to service their clientele there. So we've done a more commercial, I would say, in Miami than residential, but yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I love it. Perfect. So, well, thanks for sharing that. It's important for us to make sure that agents know where the rock stars are. And I know that I come to you when I need my Florida information and when we're going to relocate. So I'm excited about that. So, okay, systems that scale without burnout. That's one of the things that we want to talk about. So what are some of the key systems and processes that you scale your business without burnout? So what are the ones that helped you?
Yeah. So that's one of the key pieces, I think, when you're building any business is setting that structure up front. And it can be overwhelming at times when you are getting started and you're just so excited, you just start doing. But I always tell our agents, as you're doing, write it down, and you can use that kind of as a guide to set those structures in place. But things like from a brokerage standpoint, the things that allow us to scale are things like an onboarding checklist. So every agent that comes and joins our brokerage is really getting that same level of care and experience across the map. And we're not having to guess if the business cards were ordered or if the headshot was done. Really easy ways to kind of track and follow that. And also, with our agents, helping them create some systems and processes for transaction workflows. So again, like what we do for our agents, making sure their experience is the same. We want our agents to have that same, care with their clients. So every client, whether they have one deal going or 10, has that same experience. So email templates and checklists really do help. And so we help, really structure those to make sense for them and what their process looks like, cater it to them, but using tech to help them really leverage and create those workflows is critical.
I know the first time I heard, so like checklists, it's like everybody knows what a checklist, but when somebody, one of the people that work for me, they're like, I'm going to make SOPs. And I'm like,
Yeah.
SOPs?
Yeah.
And then they're like standard operating procedures. And in corporate, when I did corporate, they're like, here's the book, read it. This is what you have to do. But in real estate, do you find that people just wing it?
Well, yeah, because I feel like most real estate agents they're people or salespeople, not really business people. And so helping them realize like you are actually a business owner. And so it's important that you treat it like a business. And so if you've ever been a W-2 employee, you go in, they have those manuals you have to read, you sit through the trainings, and everything has a specific way that things are done, and helping them kind of create that for their business and getting a handle on what it's like to stay on top of your financials, not just commission checks, but also money going out. What are you putting out in advertising spend? Are you seeing a return? And setting up checks and balances to ensure that you're spending your money wisely, but creating those check-in points for yourself comes down to systems and checklists. So having that reoccurring reminder on your calendar to say, hey, let's revisit those ads we did last quarter. What was the return? Is it worth renewing? Because agents very quickly want their name everywhere, and they think that that's going to get them the business. And of course, brand recognition is important, but it's very easy to overspend in marketing if you're not seeing the follow through. And so creating those systems to ensure that your money's being spent wisely is important.
That's a really good one. When you think about like, what are the ones that they overlook, but really move the needle? Like which of those systems, even like, so if I were to say like, which systems do you believe that they overlook, but move the needle? One of the ones that you just mentioned is checking on your marketing.
Yeah.
Which could manage the squirrel shiny penny in your budget. Like,
yeah. And it's crazy how many, like if you have them look at their subscriptions, they get so subscription happy. They have all these automation subscriptions that they sign up for. Like this is over here going to do my social media for me. And this over here is going to create templates for me. But are they using them? Are they leveraging them? Are they getting the return from them? Or is it just eating away at their bottom line every single month? And so helping them, get dialed back in and really look and assess money going out, and is it helping or is it hurting? And setting up a system that is going to remind them monthly, quarterly to really deep dive into those numbers and make sure, they're really looking at their business as a business.
Track and measure.
Mm-hmm, that's it.
And it's easier said than done, until you get into the habit. When did you first realize that systems and not just the hustle were the key to growing sustainably?
Well, we have some agents that they will outwork anybody, right? But they hit their capacity. And so that's the reality. When there's no work systems that are working for you and allowing you to really leverage your business, you see the people that aren't afraid of rolling up their sleeves and showing up every day and hustling, but they eventually tap out because they just reach capacity.
Right.
And so retraining and reworking their business to implement systems and maybe outsource some of the simpler tasks that don't need them in particular, allow them to 5x their business relatively quickly because they have the business coming in. They just can't service them. It's impossible. So that's really has been quite fun helping these powerhouse agents that, again, you get so excited when you get your license, you just get to work, that you often don't realize that taking the time to set up those things up front will help you in the long run with longevity. Because now I can take these systems and processes I put in place and hand them off to a transaction coordinator or an operations person or, an admin or a buyer's agent, or maybe another listing agent, and scale. Versus now there is nothing in place. I can't hand anything off. Nobody knows what I do. I don't even know what I do. I just show up
I just do it.
put fires out all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's watching these rock stars and being like, you have made the same amount of money for 5 years. Why? Oh, let me look at your business. And you take a peek behind and you're like, you're just doing every day without really a system.
Yeah. There's that in the business and on the business.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Type of thing. Good. So, well, thanks for that. So I have always been fascinated and still remain fascinated when I met you, and then I see, how you going to, now I'm going to go over to like your brokerage, right? Or somebody building their team. So if you don't know Jessica, or you haven't read, don't know about her book or haven't listened to her, I will just say that when I met you and I met her, depending on who's listening, I was fascinated, first of all, rock star person, but it's like you have a tribe, and when the girls, like I show up at this last conference and all the ladies, I shouldn't say girls, but all the ladies had the same outfit on and they're all branded and they're all excited and they're just love each other. And of course people, battle, that's normal. But I was really surprised. They're like, you had your brand there. You obviously spend time making sure that stuff even exists, so I've never seen anything like it. So my question is, how can brokerages shift their focus from recruiting new agents to actually retaining the ones that they have?
Yeah, to me, retention beats recruitment any day of the week. When you talk to anybody that really isn't in a recruitment role, they can bring people in all day long, but if what you're promising isn't the experience, they're not going to stay. And so they're just in and out, right? Constant revolving door. And so for us, it's really important that we actually focus more on what our agents experience on the day-to-day and the support that they have. And it's not just about the flashy things. It's about stuff that they're actually going to use and can help them in their business. Less of like a manager and more as a coach or a mentor, a partner in business is kind of how we approach ourselves. Myself and my other two brokers, we really believe in aligning ourselves alongside our agents. And we think that they feel that. And then that is what just kind of radiates naturally because they feel like we're a member of their team, and we are.
Okay. All right. So, so you're not just like sitting over here, you get more involved.
Yeah, we're very involved in their business. And it's super catered to them as individuals. So we don't have one way of doing business. You don't come to a Monday meeting and we say, okay, you're going to call, 100 people today and you're going to do these things. Everybody's approach to business is different depending on their backgrounds, their strengths, what their sphere looks like, what their level of success looks like. I always joke that we have, the agent that's retired, works floor to get out of the house so his wife can have a moment to herself, and any checks go towards his Corvette collection. That's just where he is at this stage of life. And then we have like the single mom who her paycheck is what keeps the roof over their heads and food on the table. So their level of hustle and their level of success in real estate, it looks different. So naturally the approach is going to be different. And so we sit down with them on an individual level and figure out how we can support them in achieving their level of success, what that looks like for them. So that isn't dictated by us, it's dictated by them. And we give them that ownership, and then we just help guide them and support them through that.
Okay. And so when you say you help guide them and support them for what you're doing, if you're going to communicate it out, what are some practical ways brokers can support their agents, which this is part of it, like beyond just the training sessions and the transaction tools, which is what you're talking about, you're actually spending time. What are some practical ways that people could take it away? What they could take away to say, do this or consider this.
Yeah, I think really being present, not just available, is a big thing. My door's always open is a saying that drives me nuts because you're waiting for them to come to you. Instead, pay attention to what they're doing and check in on them. If they're quiet, if you haven't heard from them, if there's been a pivot in their approach, or in their trend, do a check-in, see what their needs are, do a yearly sit down with your agents and get an assessment of what their goals were for the year, how they track, or do they need help realigning? And then really it's just staying dialed in and connected. So supporting them outside of the business. Like we pay attention to anniversaries and graduation events and little things like that that remind them that we're connected on a human level. People want to be at a place where they feel like they belong and they feel that sense of connection. I think that's really why our people stay. And it's that those relationships that when things get tough and the market slows down, or, in our case, you get hit by a crazy hurricane, that people stay, right? That culture is what helps them stay.
Okay. No, I love that. I mean, I love that you said it's not, my door's always open, but instead being proactive, like reaching out, and I'm sitting here thinking, did any of my brokers or the people that have encouraged me to come here, have they ever like pick up the phone or like, hey, happy birthday, or here's a card? And I'm sitting there like, that's something that I could be doing better. I would do, when my team was bigger, I would do monthly coaching calls. Of course, it depends on if you can scale it.
Right.
A lot of times the personal stuff has such a big impact on the professional stuff that they need that. Like,
what a simple message will do, right? So like every Monday I go through any pendings in the last any closings coming up in the next 7 days. And I shoot every single one of them, like, congratulations on your upcoming closing. Let me know if you need anything. And then I do the same thing for pendings. I go over all the pendings from the week every Monday. And congratulations on getting this pending. Congratulations on double siding that. Hey, saw that you finally got that one under. Way to go. And, sure, it might take me 30 minutes out of the day to get all those messages sent out, but that's 30 minutes that the impact is far worth that time investment.
Okay. And how do you do that? Are you doing that like in a team meeting? Do you do that in an email? Do you do it in a text?
Text, just me to them. Yep.
In a text.
Very intentional and personal on purpose. Yeah. I don't want it to feel like it's something automated or structured. I want it to feel like, hey, I just saw this and I'm proud of you, because that's the truth.
Right. Curious, are you doing it from your personal, or are you using a different system for that?
Nope. It's through my phone.
Personal phone. Okay, cool. I mean, I think that those details, like, that's like a huge takeaway. Just take the time, congratulate them on the sale, under contract.
Well, you hear people say, the handwritten notes, people still love handwritten notes. So yes, but in this instance, I feel like people still love to feel seen and heard. And so if I can just shoot them a quick text and say, hey, I see you, keep kicking ass.
Yeah.
That's important too.
Right. Yeah. And of course you can see the back office of that through your systems. You can see all the contracts going under contract, which is great. Perfect. Okay. So I wanted to ask you about your playbook.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest gaps, like if this is relevant, that you see in traditional real estate training, and how does the Agent Playbook help fill them in?
I think any agent will tell you that what you learn for your test is barely scratch the surface on what it actually takes to be an agent. It's crazy. A lot of us just cram, get through the exam, pass your test, and then you're like, okay, what do I really need to know to be an agent to do my job? There's huge miss there in regards to practical day-to-day of agent life versus, what the law is, right? And what the statutories are. It's just crazy. So I see through a lot of my encounters with agents, whether they've been in the business for 20 years or they are newly licensed and floundering, that there is a big miss. They get their license and then what, right? Well, you get your license and you're now the most popular person, in school almost, right? It's like your phone is constantly ringing. Everybody wants you to join the brokerage. Everybody has this crazy sales pitch. They all want to get you. And you're just kind of enamored by that. And so teaching them, one, how to slow down and make that decision wisely, because while up front it doesn't seem like it's a big decision, it's one of the biggest decisions. The brokerage that you choose to align yourself with really impacts the trajectory of your future. And so not just saying yes to the person that sounds the coolest or has the flashiest stuff, really taking the time to compare. So in my playbook, I talk about, what specific questions you should be asking a brokerage. And I even have a supplemental download that is like a side-by-side comparison that people are able to utilize in that interviewing process, because they're not just interviewing you are interviewing them. And so giving them the opportunity to really share what it is that they have to offer and comparing them on a nitty-gritty, and not being afraid to ask the question, like, if I sold a house for this price, what would you anticipate I bring home? And asking everybody that same question to really get a sense of what commissions look like, what fees look like, what is the structure. So many people going into it that come from a W-2 type of environment don't understand commission and how that works.
Right.
So allowing the brokerage to educate you can really help you determine, okay, this brokerage over here, I'm going to get more, from each closing, but they don't offer these things. Which do I value more? And so helping them kind of guide them through that. And then from there on, it's setting up your business appropriately. So, you're prepared comes tax time, because now you are your own business. And so making sure that you're set up that way, preparing for slow times, because real estate, like anything, ebbs and flows, and you're going to have times where you're absolutely crushing it. And you're going to have times when the market slows down, or maybe you have a health issue and you're not able to put in so much time and energy, and how are you going to prepare for that? And so I go over really how to prepare for all of those challenges and setting yourself up for success through that. And things like, your support network, key vendors. What do those vendors look like? Who can help you in your business really create an impact and make a difference? And so, yeah, I really try to bridge the gap on what it is to be a real estate agent as far as the state is concerned versus what the actual day-to-day is for a state business owner.
Right. I mean, it's definitely, it's like college too. Like, I learned this, but now what?
Right.
I think but it's worse, right? Like, I'm like, I these calculations, I'm like, I don't even know. I just, like, these are ridiculous. Like, if I had to go back and do some of those things again, I'm like, I've never needed it. What inspired you to write the book?
My conversations with agents. So I found myself repetitive, right? So we have about 130 agents at our brokerage, and I interview quite a few throughout the year. And it's the same thing. So whether it's somebody that's been in the business and they realize they made the wrong decision and they've been trying to fight through it, over the last, 5 years, and they're realizing it's just not the right fit. And I've tried to make it work, and it's not the right fit. And now they're having to make the switch because they didn't have the education up front on how to make the right choice. Or it's, the scalability side. They didn't set their business up for success. They don't treat it like a business because they didn't really realize going into it that it is actually a business. And so they learned it along the way, but taking the time to slow down and fix it. Sometimes they need a little nudge, or they just don't know how. And so this helps fill those gaps. But it's 100% inspired by our agents and the agents I speak to in the industry, who there's so many commonalities of just misses. And I was like, I feel like I'm on repeat. Let me just write it down.
Right.
Yeah. Create a playbook.
That's it's so true. We forget what we know. So when people ask you the question, I'm like, oh yeah, like I so assume it. So thanks. I'm excited about your book. I've seen it, and I know a lot of people have really, really appreciate the inside tips. So this has been a masterclass, in just not just building a business, but building it right. So before we wrap up, like, what final piece of advice would you give to agents trying to make the leap, like, from overwhelm to in control?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to bring it back to basics. It's never too late to revisit those core things. It's okay to slow down and take a peel back the curtain and really take a look at how you're running your business and reassess. It's never too late to make those adjustments and watch yourself grow and scale as a result.
Love it. Well, I'm so glad that you came here today. I love when I get to see you. Like, this is like not just Charleston, South Carolina, where we've met a few times. So definitely have to connect, and in Florida, and stay connected more. So thank you for sharing all of these insights. And for those of you that have joined us on the Million Dollar Agent podcast, I hope you stay tuned for more amazing guests like Jessica. Jess, everybody calls you Jess also?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like me, don't call me Kimberly, I'm Kim, but you go by both, whatever. Also, her links will be down depending on where you're listening to this. Look for the links for your book. Where can you find your book?
Pretty much anywhere that you buy books, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Walmart, Books a Million, National Association of Realtors, all of it.
Wow. So you've really got it everywhere.
Yeah.
Good for you. Love it. All right. Well, thank you for your time,
Much
and
for
thanks
having me.
everybody else for listening. All right.